Good afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome you all to our webinar today. Today we'll be discussing the subject of optimizing equipment, maintenance management, and scheduling. We have a lot to talk about today and a lot to show you. A couple of housekeeping items, though. If you do have any questions, we're more than happy to answer them. If they are specific to your company and some of your own workflows, we can certainly answer those after the webinar personally via email or some other format like that. But we're more than happy to answer any questions you have about the subject matter. So I guess we can jump right in. Starting with our introductions today. We have on the phone today, we have Jen Angrisano. She is a business analyst with B2W software and will be helping describe a lot of the metrics and KPIs that will be your goals. She's got a long background in consulting work, helping companies create efficiencies and reach their goals to be a world-class organization when it comes to equipment maintenance. We also have Mark Hooks with us today. He's one of our solutions engineers. He's been with the company since 2008, and prior to becoming a solutions engineer, he was part of our training and implementation team. And my name is John Kane. I'm the product manager for B2W's maintenance software, Maintain. And basically my role is to research the industry and provide a world-class software product to help our customers reach their goals in the realm of equipment maintenance. So moving forward. So basically what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about some of the market pressure that a lot of the companies are receiving today about cutting costs and increasing utilization, some of the workflows that a maintenance shop might be facing with their equipment, some benchmarks. These are really important because, as you know, software is only as good as what you get out of it. And then some of the solutions that are available to you from B2W software. We'll actually look at the whole realm of elements that we offer and how they tie together. We'll also talk about some of the implementation processes, how you can plan for success, and how you can get through that cultural wall that sometimes exists when you're implementing new processes and workflows. And then we'll have a short Q&A at the end. So basically, as you know, in this market space, the heavy civil market space, there's a lot of competition, forcing margins to tighten. As the competition intensifies and companies become more and more savvy with their work tracking and workflows and process improvement, again, that competition is getting harder and harder to deal with. The equipment, obviously the goal there is to keep it working on the job, make sure that your uptime is what your goal is, and that we all know how expensive it is when that piece of equipment goes down, and we're going to talk about what we can do to prevent that. And at the end of the day, the financial risk and reward, uptime, logistics, and mapping and so forth, we'll talk about how important that is in regards to the shop manager keeping track of what's going on a day-to-day basis and being able to make decisions on the fly when needed. So we all know we have some challenges with managing our fleet. Process efficiencies. This is a big area where a lot of different areas in the organization tie together, and creating that cohesive unit so that the passing of information is efficient and allows those workflows to succeed. When we're moving from a reactive to a proactive organization, focusing on preventive maintenance as opposed to reactive maintenance, sometimes that's a larger hurdle than people think it is. But once you get there, it cuts down a lot of time in your shop with these emergency calls and things you have to deal with kind of on the fly. You want to have real-time visibility of your equipment. Obviously, you want to see what's happening on a day-to-day basis, maybe on an hour-to-hour basis. Telematics helps with that. Having a good, strong software product with a mapping functionality can help you with that as well. And then again, at the end of the day, it's all about accountability and measurement. We want to make sure that we're able to measure the success and the efficiency of our equipment and the use of that equipment, as well as the mechanics and the people we have working on that equipment as well. And as we know, technology does drive opportunity. So one of the things that we strive for is, and we tell most of our customers, is to evangelize technology. And that's basically the idea of accepting the fact that technology is the future. Technology does lead to success. And that would include things like specialized software, mobile, web, and cloud solutions. Again, as I mentioned, telematics, GPS locations of equipment, and of course the much broader Internet of Things. And this, to get there, basically you need to have obviously unified workflow improvements. As I mentioned before, tying all this together with your maintenance and repair processes, the knowledge and analysis you need for your scheduling and dispatching, and again, at the end of the day, getting the measurable outcomes that you want to be a world-class maintenance organization. So in starting thinking about these workflow improvements, what are the basic things that you need in a maintenance shop? Obviously, you need a mechanism to be able to create and track work orders. You need to be able to schedule those work orders. You need a way to complete those work orders, and be able to verify that the information on them is complete and can provide you the metrics you need for those measures. And that ties into reviewing and processing the information as well. So a lot of companies today rely on manual and paper processes for a lot of these items. Work orders typically are done on a piece of paper. A mechanic takes it in the shop, writes down all his information, brings that back. It's somehow logged in a file cabinet. Some of the problems this causes is for maintenance, such as preventive maintenance, that becomes a really manual process, and tracking those times and intervals becomes somewhat of a non-efficient way of working. Scheduling the work, again, if you're not doing it in a proactive way, you're firefighting all day, you're not tracking your parts and making sure that they're available so those mechanics can be efficient in the shop, continue working. Completing your work, you want to make sure that you're always having your data available to you. Paper process and manual process don't really allow that to a certain extent. So it's hard to report across multiple areas when you've got a manual and paper process. Again, like I said, limited to no reporting creates high costs. There's a lot of manual labor there, and you don't have really the history that you need to track efficiencies. With a specialized software, a CMMS program, all that data is available to you to work from. You have a work request process. You can detail these work orders to have the correct coding in place so you can measure trends. You have a history, of course, a database history that allows you to pull from for those measures. And you can also automate your preventive maintenance. Let the system do the heavy lifting there to tell you when this stuff is due and automatically create the work orders and repair requests you need to get the work done. Scheduling the work, again, easily accessible. Typically, you can access these items on the tablet, providing great efficiency there. You're more proactive. You can plan for your parts on your work orders via a very thorough purchase order and possibly inventory system. And it's higher morale because it's easier to work with, and the information is right in front of you, and you don't have to hunt and peck for it. Completing your work, mechanics will find that working with work orders that are in front of them on a tablet or even on a laptop are easier to enter data into. There's less chance of entering disparate data, which basically means the same thing, but isn't really from the same item. So the utilization of pre-formulated coding structures, drop-down boxes, and those kinds of things allow greater efficiency for your mechanics, makes their job easier. And they're not stuck in those administrative tasks that the paper process utilizes. Then the shop manager can verify and account for all that accurate data, update it, make sure it's correct, and make sure the reporting will be 100%. And again, easy reporting. Once that data is in the system, getting it out is much easier. It's all in one database, and we can just pull that out via report. You can look at, chop it up, and review that, see how you're doing against your metrics. Again, aids in decision making, things like sweet spot analysis. That's one of the things that is a very complex, I want to say, algorithm. And having the data available to you in one place allows you to do that in a more efficient way. And then there's your history. You need to be able to track trends against your equipment, which ties into your sweet spot analysis. When do I get rid of a piece of equipment? When do I sell it? Do I keep it? How many times have I replaced this transmission? How many times have I worked on this carburetor system or this hydraulic system? Things like that allow you to make better decisions and allow you to keep your equipment in the field for as long as possible, maximizing their efficiency as well. So workflow improvements. Again, as I touched on previously, equipment history, equipment status, preventive maintenance, repair, replace, and rent strategies, all of that ties into the data that you collect from a software program that is utilized by your mechanics, your shop managers, and even your field personnel. So here we're going to talk about some of the metrics and goals that you should be shooting for. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jen Angrasano, our business analyst here at B2W.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, John, for introducing me. Just to give you a quick overview of key metrics that I think everyone in maintenance should be looking to track, and hopefully they are able to get this information out of their maintenance software package. Again, there are millions of different measures that you can actually look at to improve your maintenance and save you significant money, and kind of, like John talked about earlier, be able to analyze and be able to find that sweet spot analysis to determine when it is time to appropriately dispose of a piece of equipment. So what I like to do is I want to look at measures that are SMART, and I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard this acronym a million times. So the goals and measures should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. You know, they have to fit into your business, and you have to be able to track them and hold people accountable to them, and then look for ways to improve on those measures. All goals and measures should be communicated across the board throughout your company, and this should be done by your leadership in your company. Leadership needs to support these measures and anything that you're looking to improve to be better. And what I like to do is display the metrics somewhere within your organization, whether you have bulletin boards or you know, you send out emails to your employees to let them know where you are and what you need to do to improve, and also that is key to holding people accountable. Okay, you can go to the next slide now. Yep. Okay, so right now I'm just going to go through just a few of the ones that I think are key that definitely should be tracked. The first one is your annual maintenance versus annual revenue. This is measured by taking your total maintenance cost divided by your annual sales. Now that is your actual business sales, and the maintenance cost is not only your labor and materials, it's everything to run your shop. So all the overhead that is associated with running that shop needs to be included in that. And best-in-class companies run below 5% their maintenance costs as a percentage of their revenue. World-class companies are around 2%, and the industry average runs about 8%. So it would be a good thing to look at all these measures that I'm talking, try to talking about, try to calculate them yourselves and then kind of determine where you fall in the realm of other people in this industry as well. Next one. This is percent preventive maintenance hours versus reactive hours. So this is your total preventive maintenance man hours divided by, your total preventive maintenance man hours divided by your total maintenance man hours. And you should, best-in-class companies look at greater than 50% target for preventive maintenance, and world-class is around 65%, and industry average is somewhere around 40%. And the next one is your planned percentage of maintenance hours versus unplanned. And again, this would be your total maintenance, planned maintenance hours divided by your total maintenance man hours. And you should be looking at getting greater than 80% of your man hours is on planned maintenance. That again is the best-in-class target. World-class is 85%, and industry average is around 65%. And the next one is your emergency work, and this is really important one because this is the one that I believe really significantly lowers your costs, because emergency work, we all know, costs somewhere between 4 and 5% times than it does if you did it preventive or you planned that maintenance. So best in class is a target is lower than 5% for your emergency maintenance man hours. World class is under 3%, and the industry average is actually really high. It's around 30%. So companies are spending an enormous amount of money and man hours on emergency maintenance work. And this next one is your percent mechanic regular hours versus overtime hours. Again, so this would be your total maintenance man hours divided by, your regular maintenance man hours divided by your overtime hours. And you want to be below 10% if you're looking at being a best-in-class organization. Industry average runs about 20%, and world-class is 5%. And this next one is your annual maintenance versus replacement value. And this would be your total maintenance cost, again, everything, including your labor, overhead, and parts, divided by the estimated cost to replace your equipment. And this is very similar to the one that we talked about in the beginning, where best in class runs below 5%. World class is around 3%, and industry average is somewhere around 12%. And another good benchmark to look at is your weekly maintenance schedule compliance. So this is the amount of work that you have scheduled for the week that is actually completed, and you're looking at a target of greater than 85% to be in a best-in-class organization. Industry average runs about 65%, and world class is around 95%. And at this time, I am going to turn it over to Mark Hooks, where he will do a product demonstration.
Thank you very much, Jen. Now, based on all the challenges that exist in today's construction market around maintenance, let's take a look at the solutions offered by B2W software. It's going to bring up our operations suite. The operations platform that you're seeing here is unique in how it can help bridge communication between all the different areas of your company, all coming together to tighten up the whole maintenance process. What you're seeing here are really 3 different products or elements. One being track. This is the ability to track your job in the field, do an immediate comparison between how you bid the work, how you're performing the work for quantities, hours, subs, trucking, and things. We're going to talk about how that actually feeds into the maintain area to help keep the shop informed. Also with dispatch, you've got that program there that really is set up to dispatch your people, your equipment, your material moves and things out into the different job sites. Well, we need to inform the people in dispatch if a piece of equipment is down or being taken down. So there's communication there. And then ultimately what we're going to do today is spend the biggest time on the equipment maintenance area we have called maintain. But we're not going to start there. We're actually going to start first with the field. With our track element, we utilize what we refer to as field logs to collect the daily data through a very customizable interface that can be used remotely on iOS or Android tablets for the guys in the field to collect their data. But a couple things that they can do to kind of bridge this communication gap between the field and what's happening in the shop. Because, as you know, equipment management can be one of the most costly areas in your company. Your equipment's either making you money or costing you money. So how can we have all the different parts of the company come together and really feed communication back and forth that helps? Well, if I switch over here to what we refer to as a field log, and this is the template of what the guys would be using, and they can use this again in an app interface to collect the data in the field. They could be collecting meter readings that would push over to the maintain area of the program. That would fire off some automation in creating those preventative maintenance programs requests that tells the guy in the shop what needs to be done. Also, the other thing the guys can do in the shop utilizing our products is called a repair request. If the guy in the field, whether it be tablet or whatever, sees something is going wrong with his product, and he can actually go into the repair request area and he can create a request that's immediately seen by the guys in the shop. There's no phone calls. They can put in what they think is going on. They can put in a priority. They can put in comments. And utilizing, say, a tablet interface, take a quick snapshot of what's going on with the piece of equipment, and that, again, is immediately seen by the guys in the shop. So it cuts down on that, I got to wait on a phone call, those kind of communication pieces that puts a lag time between what happens and what needs to be fixed. Now, for the guys in the shop, what we're going to do now is switch over to maintain. When the equipment manager goes into the equipment maintenance program called maintain, they go into a centralized dashboard that really gives them a good snapshot to carry over and give them information about all those metrics that Jen just mentioned. First off, what do I have going on today? What's in the shop currently that I have being taken care of? My work orders are by priority. As a shop manager, I can see what percentage is my emergent repairs, what's more in the green zone that would be more of my non-reactive repairs or preventative maintenance, and what's in the middle. How are we doing as far as keeping up with those metrics? Overtime potential. How much overtime am I working my guys to keep up with those metrics? But here I can also see incoming repair requests, and we're going to talk about as we go through the product today, where are those requests coming from? One just came in from the field. The guys in the field sent a request in telling me I have a piece of equipment that's down. But also the automation for your preventative maintenance programs can create those repair requests. Repair requests can come in from the shop or even from a mechanic in the field with a tablet running around and doing his job. You can see that there's unscheduled preventative maintenance, unscheduled work orders, past due work orders that have outlived the duration that I've stated it should have taken to take care of that work order, and even pending time card management, because in our maintain element, as the guys are working in their work orders or creating timesheets, we're going to be able to manage that information and send it back over to accounting, again, saving time between different areas in the company. All the areas you see down here are drill downs. So as a manager, this is the first thing I probably need to know during the day. I need to know what kind of requests are sitting out there so I can start planning my day or my week to know what I'm going to be doing with my equipment. When you click into the unassigned repair request area, it first takes you into a very filtered aspect of repair request. Now you'll notice in our system we have separated requests from work orders, and we do that on purpose. As the requests are coming in from, again, multiple areas, including your preventative maintenance programs, we thought that someone should triage those requests to make sure we have all the meaningful data we need before it creates a work order. So the guy can come in and he can say, well, there's that brake noise. Yeah, I've got everything I need. They say it's a high priority, so I really should kind of start looking at it to see what I need to do. if they want to put this on a work order. Now, everything's sitting in a centralized SQL database. All of our systems are talking to each other in real time, and the system itself, the maintain element here, is sharing information across all those different areas. So when I click to add this request to a work order, maybe there's already a work order on that piece of equipment. So now as the equipment manager, I have options. Do I want to bundle this into a single work order? Or in this case, I'm going to create a new work order. Even with that perspective, it now gives me the ability to see all the other things that need to be done to that piece of equipment. I can see there's other requests that I missed as I was going through looking at the requests that are sitting there. So I now can bundle those requests. I can also see I have preventative maintenance coming up on that piece of equipment. So again, this is where I make the informed decision based on the communication within my organization. Do I need to bundle that all into one work order so I maximize my mechanics time, sending them out to do that repair with multiple work order items, or leave it as it is and he's going to go out and take that piece of equipment down twice? The ultimate goal, minimize the downtime on your equipment, maximize your mechanics time, all saving you time and money. So that's how we can bundle things together to create your work orders. In the work order section of the program, there's lots of ways to get to all the work orders in your company. Here I can see open work orders, basically meaning these are the ones that are ready for me to schedule for my mechanics. But I have a series of filters here that I can get to any work order, new, old, upcoming, that I have in the system. Inside the work order are a lot of the things that John mentioned. Metrics that we can start loading in, codes that we can look at, trends across what's happening to your equipment. So inside this work order, I can see some beginning pieces. It's a repair work order. They said the problem code is an equipment breakdown. There's comments in there that I can continue to add to, again, increasing the communication between, say, the mechanic in the shop or the field back to the primary office. Attachments, we can put pictures, documents, notes, anything you want in here to attach to stay with this work order, which will ultimately be stored forever within the equipment profile. The hours here are both planned hours, where I, as an equipment manager, before I put it onto the schedule, can start looking at how long I think it's going to take to do that repair. So as I look at the schedule, I know how I can hour load my mechanics. Down below are truly the reported hours that are coming from my mechanics. As they do various parts of this work order, they can absolutely load in the hours for themselves or their supportive equipment, such as their service trucks. That all calculates the cost it's taking me to do this repair on this piece of equipment. And the same thing with parts. I can put in the parts, both estimated parts I think I'm going to need for this repair, but ultimately the reported parts will calculate the cost of the parts for this work order. The estimated quantity here is very essential because if you really want to use our inventory and purchasing module, it really cuts down on going out and having to count all the parts that are on the shelf. And I'll show you what I mean by that when we get into the purchasing area of the program. Using the reported quantity actually pulls the part out of the inventory. So again, all the parts and pieces you're seeing here work together to create efficiency within the shop and keep your equipment up and running. Once I'm ready to schedule a work order, I can approve it, and that will take it off this list to put it on my schedule. And that's what you'll see here. You'll see a multi-day schedule that's really a couple things you're looking at here on screen. There's a mechanic-centric view, which has both my internal and, if you choose, your external shops, so you can see what's going on inside your shop and what you have allocated outside to your vendors and to your assistive shops. We can also look at an equipment-centric view. Just take all of my resources off there. Show me the equipment I have down during the day, the 3-day, week, or scrolling 2 weeks that I can view this schedule. You can also create work orders from the screen. So from this one central screen, the equipment manager could be creating new work orders. And basically, these are the work orders that have been approved and ready for me to drop on the schedule. So from here, I can take it and drop it on my mechanic's day, and then I get to decide how long it's going to take to do that repair. Where are we going to send them? Are we going to send them out to one of my sites to do that? We put it down for an event and say it's down for repair, and this is crucial in now letting the dispatcher know that that piece of equipment's down, how long it's going to be down for. I can then assign multiple mechanics to that work order. I hit save, and now that's on my mechanic's day, so they know what they have to do. Other bits and pieces here are past due work orders. When I set up that work order, I gave it a due date. Well, what if it runs past that due date? We don't bury it in the schedule in the past. Basically, it's there that I can see that I have past due work orders. I can see them here. And to further increase the efficiency of my mechanic, if I'm going to send them out into the field, I can even look for nearby maintenance using the map within B2W Maintain to look at a geofence around, say, my shop to see what's within that location, but I can broaden that search out to, say, a 10-mile radius to see everything that's out there that I can add to his day while he goes out and makes traveling easy and efficient as he goes out and does those repairs in the field. The mechanic themselves will have a tablet application that allows them to see their work. They'll be able to drill down into their work orders, see their work order items, continue to drill down and see exactly what they need, the details of the work order. They can put any comments. We've even set it up for voice activation so they can speak into the tablet. Any attachments such as pictures, manuals, anything you want to have in there. This is where they could report their hours within a work order, and they can report hours against the work order and also things like safety meetings, downtime, and they'll also be able to put the parts in here as well, whether they be parts from your inventory or even custom parts if they had to run to the shop. Basically from there, they could be able to get to their repair request, their listing of work orders. Time card management happens here. So if they put hours into a work order, it creates a timesheet, or they could create a timesheet and apply hours to multiple work orders, both doing the opposite action. And a big one here is full access to your equipment profiles. If they need to see what's inside an equipment profile as far as history, equipment specs, component specs, warranty information, any attachments such as service manuals, wiring schematics and things, all the way down to the history on this piece of equipment, so they've got full access to everything they need to effectively create the repairs. Once a guy in the field has taken care of his day, he's completed his work order, he's created his timesheets, time card management happens back in the system. This is where not only can we see, we can approve, submit, reject timesheets back to the field, but we can also export those timesheets over to your accounting system, saving time and money. A huge part of any equipment maintenance program is preventative maintenance. You know that every time you have to emergently stop, as Jen mentioned, costs you a lot more money to stop what you're doing and go and fix an emergent repair rather than having predetermined preventative maintenance, keeping your fleet up and healthy. You can create as many preventative maintenance programs as you like, as many levels deep for each of those, showing what needs to happen for each of those service levels. Intervals can be put in for meter, for calendar, odometer, however you like. And our system is even set up so if you have GPS devices, we can generically go out and grab the AEMP standard language, GPS reading, telematics readings from that equipment to pull it in automatically to feed into these intervals so that it'll automatically create those repair requests. But again, talking about how all the systems are talking to each other, the guy in the field puts a meter reading in on his tablet, it automatically is in the equipment profile and adds to that interval to fire off those requests. Lots of ways that we can get those readings into our system. You can put attachments that would go over with the request, exclusions, hours, and even parts lists that become part of the request when the request is automatically generated. The equipment profiles are loaded centrally in the system, so again, even in the field or in the shop, people have access to everything about that equipment. The same equipment specs, component specs, file attachments. Financial information was really loaded back for the equipment manager, not necessarily appropriate to put out to the mechanic so that he can see that information. Meter reading and meter reading history and how it got there. Warranty information, whether it be end-to-end component or subcomponent warranties, can be managed here. All the way down to the events when we took that piece of equipment down for repair, the history on the equipment, rather than going to many file cabinets to get to all the information you need on this piece of equipment. It's right there with trending and things on all of the different codes and things that you put into that work order, all into feeding into telematics locations that if we're pulling telematics information in, we'll be able to see where your equipment was and where it is. Parts, inventory, and purchasing all kind of work together. The parts listing here is your flat parts listing of all the parts that you're going to store or in the system and use toward those work orders. But this is where we can also start adding more information. We can add attachments. We can look at vendors for that part. Inventory history, as I mentioned, as we use a part on a work order, it automatically takes it away from my inventory. I can manage inventory, see purchase order history, and we even do warranty management here at the part level, which fires off automated warnings in case you try to replace that part with, say, in that 90-day window. Whether it be a few filters or a full-fledged inventory, you can utilize that in our system as well. Each part that you put as part of the inventory will have where it is, what bin it's at in that location, what's your current inventory, but also some additional numbers that are going to help with the whole purchasing requisition. We can have current inventory, on-order inventory. The allocated inventory are those estimated parts that you've assigned to a work order. You have your minimum inventory, and all those numbers combine to give you what we refer to as a net position. This is an indicator, do we need to start reordering these parts? Given all the variables here, if this falls below a net position of 0, then that means we need to start ordering the part. It's gotten to a level where we don't want to run out. That falls over into purchasing. The purchasing area is where we can create POs, but there's a little more functionality here as well. I don't want to have to go look on the shelves to see what I have loaded or what I have unloaded and what I may need to order. Basically, you come to the order parts area, you go to the purchase requisition list. The first screen you see are all the parts that have fallen below a net position of 0, showing part lead times, vendors, categories, buyers. Basically, I would come here and just pick off the parts I want to order and create my purchase orders. Purchase orders there show on one central screen, so I can see the purchase order. I can add parts to the purchase order. Even custom parts that don't exist in your inventory can be added in. You can receive inventory, add tax percentages, freight, all to come up with the cost of this PO. You can put comments, attachments, and even see a purchase order history as well. Was it amended? Do I have parts received? Is it completed yet? And ultimately, we can print the PO report in case you need to send it to anybody to complete that whole purchasing process. So that's the processes so far, going from the field giving you information, coming into the maintain element, having a centralized dashboard to really look at everything that you need to see how your day or your week's going to progress, requests turning into work orders, requests actually coming in from preventative maintenance programs and from other modalities to get everything coming into one central spot. Work order management, scheduling of your mechanics, time card management, PMs, equipment profiles in one central location, parts, inventory, and purchasing. And to complete the process, the one thing I've left out so far has been the dispatch element. By taking equipment down on the dispatch element, basically the dispatcher is going to be able to see that. So if I go to my dispatch board, this is our job board where we can handle, equipment moves and resource assignments for employees and equipment, trucking of materials, a real-time map of all the different areas that we have allocated for my folks, but also I can see here exactly what's been going on in the shop. So I, as a dispatcher, are going to know exactly what piece of equipment is down or is going to be taken down as I go through and start making my assignments. So now you can see how B2W software provides solid solutions to bridge the gaps in communication across the company. Again, saving you time and money. John, back to you.
Thank you, Mark. As you saw via Mark's demo, that there's a lot of things talking to each other. There's a lot of communication going on and a lot of data that's leveraged between the different elements within just maintain alone. As we stretch that out further and look at the big picture, it's important to be able to mine data from a database that allows you to interact with your estimating, your tracking and scheduling and dispatching, your maintenance, all the activity in the field. All of that needs to come together to paint a global picture of how you're doing as an organization. And the different elements that we provide are, we have our estimate element. Of course, everything starts with the estimate, right? So you need to bid the job, you need to track your costs. After you win the job, you need to be able to manage your equipment and your resources on that job. Of course, you need to maintain your equipment, keep it on the field, keep it working hard, and getting the most money out of that equipment. And then you need to report on all of that. So to be able to report on all that, you need a function to be able to have electronic forms, to be able to add data to those electronic forms, and to be able to extract that data from those forms to provide you insight into your KPIs. Our Inform product does that. It ties it all together, draws data from all of these elements, and allows you to, let's say, fill out a safety form that includes data from these elements, but can also notify you if there was an accident on a job. And all of this ties together in one platform called the One Platform. It's the Operational Networked Elements platform where all of this is connected, it's all unified, and there are no jobs or special processes to bring this data across. It's real-time communication sitting on one SQL database that allows you to get information out in the most efficient and strength-oriented way. So moving on to implementation and talking about how do we get all this to work in our organization? How do we get buy-in? How do we get people to start using the software? Well, you need an idea and a sense of, okay, what do we really need to integrate here? What do we need to pull in and aggregate so that we can get this process up and running? Sometimes that requires a very strategic mindset. Sometimes it requires, a lot of meetings with a lot of people that allow you to get all the ideas together, all the data together, and decide how you should define your workflow and your processes when implementing a software product for your maintenance. Getting buy-in. This is a cultural shift, and this is one of the biggest obstacles that companies face when implementing a software product from, let's say, a paper or manual process. Typically, we ask that our companies during implementation designate a software advocate that drives the process and brings in everybody onto the same page as to why we're doing it and what we're going to get when we do it. Now, that message could be different based on the audience. Obviously, a CFO wants to know, how much money am I saving? What am I getting back financially? Your shop manager may want to know, how is this making my job easier? How can I go from monitoring, or I should say from managing to monitoring what's happening? And of course, your mechanic. How's it going to make my job easier? How is it going to cut out the manual processes I have with the paper process that I had before? These are all different messages that you deliver as part of your buy-in for a software product like that. Of course, training and support. The training needs to be thorough. Your support after needs to be strong and unified. We need to make sure that when you are up and running, that you have everything you need to succeed and you know where to look for it. Management follow-through. This is a big piece of the puzzle that obviously the people who buy the software and make those decisions are the ones that should be driving the decision throughout the organization. They're the ones that control the buy-in. They deliver the message, and they make sure that we have bought into this, we own this, and we're going to do this. They are in charge typically of process changes, workflow changes that a software product will bring. Because typically, with your current processes, mapping a software product to those processes is really not how it works. You're really mapping your processes to your software product. The software product is designed to bring you to a world-class level of structure and workflow. And typically this ties back to your training, implementation, and support. So again, talking about what this all means. Technology, I said this before, evangelize technology. It's what's going to get you to be the most competitive and work the most efficiently and safely. You need a fully functional CMMS program that allows you to track data, to see real-time information. You need mobile devices in the field so that all that data can be captured. You need telematics to see where the equipment is and what the health of that equipment is. It's a big gap in organizations to be able to see exactly where that equipment is and where it's supposed to be. Preventive maintenance. That is one of the biggest struggles with a lot of companies, is keeping up on preventive maintenance. We know that obviously with the size of the fleet, the harder it is to track your preventive maintenance. So you need a program that will actually allow you to track that in an automated way, keep it accurate, allow you to plan your scheduled tasks, get them on the schedule, get them out to your mechanics, and also keep your mechanics working efficiently. And then none of that is any good unless you're getting the right measures out of it. You need to be able to measure all of that efficiency. You need to be able to report on it. You need to define those measures. You need to understand them. They need to be reliable. The data needs to be available. And again, I'm going to go back to what I talked about earlier, is that level of data that exists in the entire organization being brought together so that it can be analyzed and decisions can be made, and the right decisions can be made. And then there's always a plan for improvement. As I said before, your workflow and your processes typically are an evolution. As you get more and more efficient in what you do every day, your processes change. So keeping on top of that, keeping a plan for that, and realizing that that is necessary. It is a requirement to compete. So that ends our webinar today. I want to thank all of you for attending. I hope you got a lot out of it. Again, if you have questions, you can send them over. Feel free to reach out to our sales department. We have the phone number there and our email address. Our support department as well is there to answer any questions. So again, thank you very much for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day.